Welcome to another episode of the Edmonds Mom's Room podcast. I am Dr. Allison Felt, and today I have a friend on the podcast. I will introduce him in just a second, but I am going to start this podcast with a little bit about why I want you on here. Right. And you can tell them all how I'm your number one customer and all that good stuff. No, but really, so before COVID, in January 2020, actually it was March, I went to this conference. It was a business conference, and it was all about de-risking your business. And I realized, I took so much from that conference, and it brought me back to all my insurances that I had. Did I have everything lined up, not just in my business life, but in my personal life, to protect my family, take care of the kids, if something happened to me, right? So it kind of brought me back to that whole de-risking part of my life, and really opened my eyes to what kind of risk mitigation in the Pete Bouchard terms do I need in order to make sure I'm safe, make sure I can sleep at night and all that good stuff. But the one thing that came up in one of the meetings I was in January was that I needed more insurance. I met with one of my financial planners and I didn't have everything I needed. So then we started working closely together to really make sure all my boxes were checked. And I thought this would be such a perfect episode because pretty much everyone that listens to this is a mom. They live very similar lives to my life. And we all want to sleep better at night knowing that we have the right protections, knowing that we have
contingency plans
for when things go wrong. That's a good way to put it. When I was in my early 20s, when we actually first met, but when I was in my early 20s, I had this friend. And she told me she used to date this insurance guy, and she was fully covered if anything ever happened. Lo and behold, she starts dating this hockey player instead. They're currently now married. He floods her entire apartment. And I was like, oh my gosh, this must be a nightmare you're living in. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of a nightmare, but I dated this guy and I have every single insurance possible that protected me, so really I'm not liable for anything, everything is fine and gonna work out in my favor. And I was like, I wanna be that. And so from that conversation forward, I always thought, I always wondered, do I have the insurances I need? Am I fully covered? What is missing? What did she have? And I should have just asked her, but it was one of those things that leaves you questioning. What was so good about her protection?
Was it a condo or an apartment or?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And yes to both. I think she just rented it.
Good.
And so that brings me around to, I don't know what year it was, but the year our house got broken into. So we were living in Green Lake, but right off 99. Our house gets broken into, just complete, honestly destroyed. The guy pees on the wall. It was a disaster and takes a bunch of stuff. And we had... you weren't our insurance agent at the time, but the minute you found out that, that this happened to us, you took over and you got every single thing done for us. And I think from that point moving forward, I was like, wow, it freaking pays to have an awesome insurance agent. And I even, I didn't like you very much at that time. Pete was a hockey friend of my husband's. And so he played hockey with him, and you just had your East Coast, little bit of assholeness to you. But since then we've become friends, and you've helped us so much, and it's been awesome to have you. And so I'm super grateful that you decided to come on and join this podcast. So this is Pete Bouchard. He is the owner of the Bouchard Agency, and I am so excited to be able to dive in, ask him some questions, figure out what kind of insurances we all should have and need. Welcome.
Sounds good. Let's get at it.
Okay, dive into life insurance first.
It's the one claim you're going to make at some point in your life. Yes, we can talk there.
All right, tell us what we need. So again, we're all moms.
Like anything, insurance isn't one size fits all. But if we want to consider you as your typical client and audience person here, most moms work nowadays. Not all. But it doesn't matter if it's mom or dad. Whoever is the wage earner, and in some cases both, the irony is everyone's going to die. It's a matter of when, where, and how. Not everyone has a fire, not everyone has a car accident, but everyone has homeowners insurance and everyone has car insurance, right? 1 in 10 people have a personal life insurance policy at home. Everyone has a little bit through work, except for you and I, we're self-employed. So that's one reason why you're clued in on this is, without sharing too much, we had to plug a lot of holes.
Right.
You have loss of income. So taking that step forward, if you are the wage earner in the household or one of them, one of the biggest risks, it's almost worse than dying in my opinion, is getting totally disabled. Now you can't work and you're a liability to your family. You might even need 24-hour care. So disability income policy is what plugs that hole. We tackled that.
Yeah.
Or we're tackling it.
That was your little plug to make sure I signed the paperwork.
Life insurance is obvious, right? Actually, in my East Coast style, as our friend mentioned, it's real simple insurance. You live, you pay, you die, we pay. It's kind of a morbid thought, but unless you lie on the application or kill yourself in the first 2 years, life insurance pays out. A lot of people don't know that, and all joking aside, suicide is a real thing. And technically, if someone has life insurance more than 2 years, the thought is if you're planning on doing that, you're not going to wait. A lot of people think that's excluded, and it's not. And I've actually paid about 10 life insurance benefits, and 3 of them were suicide. And one of them was during COVID. So it's real. Anyway, going from that dark thought. So you've got your ability to create income can be taken away. That could be a car accident, could be a stroke, could be any other health thing. So that's disability income. That plugs that hole. Life insurance, none of us want to think about it, but like I said, it's going to happen now or later, ideally later. So life insurance, there's a formula. Everyone's different. You might have a mortgage, you might have 3 kids, you might have 1 kid. College expenses, everyone throws this number around that it costs $1 million to raise a kid. Well, that must have been when I was born, and I'm quite a bit older than you. I mean, I know what I'm paying for college for my kid right now, and fortunately we saved for it, which is actually another thing I don't sell personally, but 529 plans, college plans, or people have heard of GETS. If you have a child under 5, you better start doing it now. And if you have one over 5, better start now. So that's actually a huge thing that I don't personally sell, but that's pretty much the life and disability part.
Okay, so let's tap life insurance. Let me ask you some more questions about life insurance. Okay. So I answer these simply, I guess, if you want to, but from a mom's perspective. So mom works. Maybe she has an Amazon job or some tech job and she gets some life insurance, but a lot of times those are like $25,000. Like these aren't like big policies. And like even Dylan's Coast Guard policy was super small. Yeah. Like it wouldn't have been enough to support anything but a funeral. And so so you said there's a formula for that.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, most even high earning, 2, 3, 400 grand at Amazon, whatever, Microsoft, great jobs, they're going to pay 1 or 2 times your salary.
Okay.
Keyword salary. There are people that make 100 grand a year salary and they make 300 grand in stock options or bonuses or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So to be clear, that's $100,000 times 1 or 2. So that's 200,000. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But I always tell people whatever they have at work, and it's free.
Yeah.
Most of the time you can pay a little bit per paycheck and max out what they call voluntary coverage. And that's pennies on the dollar, and it's not anything you have to qualify for. So if you're overweight, not healthy, it's a group policy, so it's a great way to get inexpensive coverage that's one size fits all. It's still not enough. So you consider whatever you get at work and whatever they offer as like gravy. That's worst case scenario. Your own personal policy, you own, you control. So after you get laid off or quit or want to start your own business, that life insurance goes away pretty much instantly. I don't know if there's 30 days or 60 days. So the entrepreneur who's making 300-400 grand a year decides to go out on their own, and it happens a lot in tech. You go from whatever coverage you had at work to nothing. So having your own policy, literally you can leave the country, you could live in Istanbul, it's your policy, you take it with you. And a lot of people don't know that. It's not just in the United States. So going back to the how much coverage, That's a personal decision, but usually we want to do 5 to 10 times your salary. The other way I like to do it is the real way is, what's your mortgage? How many kids do you have? How old are they? How long is it going to take them to get to age 18? And do you want to provide for college?
Got it.
So let's just take the quintessential example. You got mom and dad, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I know they're going to have 2 kids. Well, I don't know if I should get too personal, but my daughter's college is $87,000 a year.
Yeah.
That's basically $400,000. That's today. Granted, it's a very good school. So you add 2 kids, you're already at $1 million, pretty much rounding off. A funeral, final expenses, because a lot of times if someone's young, it's something where they're in a bad car accident, they could be on life support, and you can drain a couple $100,000 after health insurance. Never mind the actual funeral. You'd be surprised what a funeral costs. Flowers, caskets. That my parents have both passed. It is not cheap. And if you're paycheck to paycheck and you have to pay for your demise of your family member, you don't want to like say, I'll take the cardboard box. That's getting a little deep. But at the end of the day, you know, let's say you make $200,000 a year. You want to get your kids to age 18. In my example, 2 and 4, you've got 16 years, right? Now that can add up. We can get crazy. But honestly, we don't really start less than $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's house around here is $1 million, so you're going to have a $800,000 mortgage or whatever. So, is that?
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I love that. And I don't know if you can answer this. I don't know if you have an answer that I want to hear. But what about the stay-at-home mom who literally works 24/7, and if she dies, like, yeah, the husband might try to replace her right away, but like the reality is, like, they're gonna need a house manager and a nanny and
you nailed it, because you did say, you know, a lot of your customers are high earning women, but yes, let's go the other way around. One customer told me she's a domestic engineer. I smile because I love that term. And it's funny how people haven't heard it. Because we don't stay-at-home mom. It could be a stay-at-home dad, right? So you could have a male domestic, never mind same-sex partners. So, long story short, you actually just nailed something, because a lot of times I'll get, hey, I want my husband to buy insurance. He makes a lot of money at work. I'd be in a bad situation if he's gone. And I'll say, well, what about you? Well, I don't work. So you're already asking me that question, but I usually have to go there. And I say, well, let's just think about this. If you weren't around, do you think he can go on those business trips to make those commissions or do those meetings? You enable him to do what he does or she does, if it's vice versa. And so there's an argument that you're worth as much, if not more. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, if you're not there, I mean, I don't want to get too personal, but you do a lot at home. You know, I know more than most. And like, there are some husbands that just don't know how to manage their soccer schedule and all this stuff. So the part about how much you earn times 10, that's just a mathematical equation. But if you're the person that holds the house together, and that person would have to quit their job, go do a salary job, that's a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do
they qualify for life insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, they can't get as much necessarily. You have to be worth more alive than dead. But $1 million for a stay-at-home mom with a mortgage is a slam dunk all day long. Yeah. And we're talking $50 to $80 a month, maybe $100 a month at most, just depending on age and health.
Yeah, one thing I can't believe how much cheaper it is, because so I've been trying to get Dylan this freaking life insurance policy since we've been married, but then he's like, because I'm like, if you die, like, I have to hire so much after school help just to like get everybody where they need to go, and like, I mean, you know,
you might take a day or two off to mourn too. You could do that. I'll give you a whole week for
Okay. But he's always like, of course you want me to have a life insurance policy. You want me to. So it's been like this whole game. I'm like, you need to have this life insurance policy. So I went online and I've been paying this exorbitant amount of life insurance just to have like $1 million coverage for him. And I think I paid $250 a month. Like that's a lot compared to the rates that your firm just sent me for him. Like it's less, it's like a quarter of the price.
Yeah, that's a he made a poor purchase decision on the product. It's not our prices are that much better. It's just you made the wrong purchase. Which
No, I didn't listen.
Okay,
because I made the decision because he was like, I'm not going to get blood work. I'm not going to do any of it. And so I had to buy the policy that would at least get me like some.
Like one of those guarantee issues where you don't ask a lot of questions and pay through the.
Yeah. And so now that he's like, oh no, I'll get the blood work, and I'm like, then we're going to Pete. Like I'm going to get this all day long. So when you sent me those numbers, I'm like, yes, like every single day, free up some cash. But everyone listening should have life insurance at this point.
The last thing I'll say on life insurance is you buy it with not just your money, but your age and your health. And the argument is, your clients aren't 25, but you're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about it or thinking it's for old people and you want to buy it before I die, but not too early, your mid-40s is the best time because you're still healthy. You kind of know where your life's going to be. You know if you're going to have 8 kids or 1, So 30s, 40s is the best. Obviously, you get into your 50s, the sooner the better because you're not going to get younger and you're not going to get healthier.
So how do you answer this? Every single person wants to go on a diet before they sign up for life insurance. So
You're kidding yourself. If you haven't done it already, then you're not going to do it. Now, I do get some people that I chew or I do edibles, which is I could do a whole segment on edibles. The fact of the matter is we have 100 reasons to wait, right? I'm going to drop 10 pounds and I'll save $8 a month. Okay? What happens if something happens in the meanwhile? Never mind happens. Let's be honest, you're not going to drop dead. But let's say you get diagnosed with high blood pressure or high cholesterol. Like my thyroid went out. I play hockey at a high level. I have to take meds. That affects my price more than dropping 10 pounds.
But you already had your price locked in.
Well, yeah, I bought mine in my 20s, but that's because what do they call that? Job hazard. So, no, if you're thinking about it, it means you've been thinking about it before this podcast, and you need to act on it. And whether you do it with me or somebody else, do it for your family.
Yeah.
Because that's what they always say you can't sell life insurance unless there's love. And I actually had a husband who was reluctant to do the blood work and stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I just don't want to do it. I said, that's one of the most selfish things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because at that point he wasn't going to buy it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, this isn't about you. This is about your kids and your wife. And he said, well, I don't give blood. I can't do it. I'm like, I called the wife and I said, he's not going to do it. She said, why? I said, because he's too scared to give blood. She goes, I'll have a conversation with him. And I got a phone call the next day.
Wow.
People have 100 different, even your own husband has reluctance.
Well, that's why I'm like, yeah, that is so selfish. I never put a thing on it. A label. Oh gosh, Pete. Okay, here we go.
Well, it's not for you. You're going to be gone.
Yeah.
Some people say literally, I don't care, I won't be around. They don't say it that way, but
yeah.
No one wants to confront that we're mortal.
That's great. That's really good.
Thank you.
Thanks I think what a plug to have life insurance. And I it's so real though. Every time I've applied for life insurance, my original policy that I got with you, that's still under my maiden name, and then my current policy, both times I was like, I need to I want to lose weight or I want to get healthier before I do this. And
you want to put your best foot forward, but sometimes it's the foot. So
yeah.
Besides, all of your clients are in perfect shape because you take great care of them.
Yeah, exactly. When you have multiple assets, how do you make sure that you're protected? So one of the things I came back with in January is I was like, Pete, I need this umbrella policy. Yeah. Do I don't even know why I needed that, but one of the financial advisors said that I needed to make sure that I got this in place by the time I came back in May.
Because it rains a lot in Seattle. You need an umbrella.
So what's an umbrella policy? And a lot of people, our friend looked at this and was like, no, that's just like essentially an upsell. Well,
it's funny because as we were entering this conversation, I got a text today because an umbrella is something that keeps you dry, right? In Seattle, actually, it's a beautiful sunny day today, but we needed umbrellas every day, right? I personally don't own one, but I was
going to say, if you're from the East Coast, you might need one, but I don't have one. I don't own one either.
Anyway, it's technically called excess liability.
Okay.
Slang is umbrella. And the problem with the word umbrella is everyone thinks it's all encompassing. And one of my really good friends, and actually another hockey person, just texted me and said, can I use my umbrella for uninsured motorists? Long story short, his mom and dad got really, really, really injured in a car accident. They almost got killed. And he's going through a lawsuit. Now, the irony is, he was texting me looking for another aspect or another way to collect funds, but I even texted him quickly back and said, no, it's the other way around. The umbrella is excess liability. I use that word with him, meaning if your parents were at fault and they were getting sued, their umbrella would cover them. And he said, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. Because long story short, their injuries are way more than the other person's insurance. So that goes back to your question. So everybody has a certain amount of auto insurance liability, called bodily injury liability and property damage. Everyone has a certain amount of liability insurance for home, renters, condo, all that. Matter of fact, a renter's policy, some of your customers might be renters, it's optional, but it actually not only protects your stuff, but it gives you liability coverage. And I don't want to go too far off on that, but a perfect example is someone who doesn't own a home. It doesn't mean they don't have assets. There's plenty of people that, right now, because the mortgage rates are high, they want to rent or they're between houses. So
Yeah.
renter's insurance actually provides liability, and to use us as example, I golf, I play hockey, golf balls can go wayward, club heads can come off. I actually had a case where someone was at a driving range and the ball went over the fence and hit a car. If you've ever been hit by a rock chip, it's loud and scary. Well, you can imagine a golf ball coming at 100 miles an hour. It wasn't my customer, but I know of this situation. The guy panicked because it scared the crap out of him, and he hit a tree and got injured. They were able to figure out whose golf ball was, which is a whole other conversation, right? But the good in us, we want to provide for other people's injuries, right? The greed may not want to, like you want to duck underneath the, I'm half kidding, but
Yeah.
so liability insurance extends from renters, homeowners, or condo. So even if you're a renter, the golf ball incident is actually covered under your homeowners or renters insurance.
Really?
Now, a renter's policy is going to max out at $300,000. And let's be honest, most people that are renting, that's enough. But if you're that person that's in between homes or you're building a home or something, an umbrella policy, to get it out, is increments of $1 million. So you start at $1 million, you can go 2, 3, 4, 5. There are products you can get, but $5 million is plenty for most people.
Yeah.
And so I was focusing on the renter, but back to your question, ideally, I always actually have a slogan: having assets is a good problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go, what do you mean problem? Well, it means you have to protect them.
Yeah.
So you're busting your butt to work, buy a house, have the house appreciate, maybe buy another house, invest for the kids. I'm 55. I'm in the hold on to my money. I don't want to lose it. And so the number one way I can lose my net worth and have to continue to work or go back to work is if I get sued and I lose everything.
Yeah.
And ironically, we're about 3 blocks from an incident where my nanny's mom, I don't even know if I told you this story, but my nanny's mom got killed in the crosswalk like 3 blocks down the street from your office.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sure a lot of your Edmonds people probably remember it, but that was life altering. Fortunately, the husband was renting the car, which is another wild card. It was a rental car that she had just picked up. Had a $5 million umbrella for his business, and it ended up paying out $3 million.
Wow.
And if you think about that, fast forwarding, that's a stay-at-home mom who never worked a day stay-at-home grandmom who never worked a day in her life in her 60s is worth $3 million. What does that make you and I worth when we provide for our families?
Yeah, that's scary. So okay. So what I'm gaining is that everybody really does need an umbrella policy just to protect you. Go back to the car accident of like the guy that was just texting you, because I feel like that's like, I want you to finish that story. So his parents are very much needing help because they got really hurt. Mm-hmm. They were hit by somebody, has maxed out their insurance. They kind of like don't have any more to get from that guy. But does that guy have an umbrella that they?
So I only know some of the details, but let's put it this way. Chris wouldn't be asking if their uninsured motorist is exhausted, which is what he meant, if their umbrella would cover, meaning the injured person. So that tells me that he's run out of funds. So I can guess the other person either doesn't have an umbrella or enough. Let's just put a number on it. Let's say it's a $2 million lawsuit and the other person has the regular, and the state minimum is $25,000, by the way.
Yeah.
And I will look at the camera, half of your customers or maybe a quarter probably have the state minimum because they don't know better and no one's ever told them. Even the highest amount you can get on a car insurance policy is $250,000.
Okay.
And if someone's out of work for 6 months and they make $300-400, you've got emergency bills. Excuse me, that money doesn't go very far. So
right.
The problem, to answer your question, is the people that hit his parents probably have the regular $100,000, $200,000, which didn't cover them. Matter of fact, I think the mom was on life support for a while. It was pretty bad. And they're older, so they're, more likely to get injured.
Okay, let's talk auto policies then. Okay. You already started talking about it. You can even tell us about how your daughter just got in this accident with an uninsured vehicleist.
Oh.
But I would love to know what kind of auto policies. I have a few questions around auto policies. I don't even know what I have. So this is why it just pays, honestly, I'm interrupting you, just pays to have a really good agent, because I feel like I didn't actually have to know that much.
Yeah.
And also, not to thread this back in, but the life insurance thing, like secretly, the reason I needed Dylan's life insurance to be through you guys is because at least I know who to contact. I don't trust this random online business that I bought this super expensive life insurance policy from. How can I even trust that if something happened that would even pay out?
Right.
So it's fascinating to bring that in. And I know not everyone is going to be friends with Pete, but this just goes to show you why it's important. You're seeing, Pete just said through this episode, multiple times, he's oh, he just texted me. That person just texted me, or I talked with her wife. And that's how it is when you take care of your customers. And never before in my life, when we had that terrible break-in, we didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah.
And even when I've had a car accident, it's I didn't know who to even call, or I didn't feel you feel all alone. And so I do feel it's really nice to have, I feel blessed to be able to have a relationship with you as a insurance agent for that reason.
I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I can actually dovetail the auto, the life, and the umbrella all together. And to be comical again, I don't know about you, but I moved here a long time ago from the East Coast, and as soon as I got here, there was this commercial. You have a friend in a diamond business. You ever seen that commercial? Yeah. Drives me nuts. It was 30 years ago, showing my age. I think the same voice is on there, but I joke when I'm talking to my customers, now you have a friend in the insurance business. And, I don't know about most of your listeners, but if you don't have a good mechanic, a good body shop guy or person, if you don't have a good plumber or electrician, there's a lot of bad actors out there. And let's be honest, there's the 80-20 rule in most businesses. Real estate agents, right? They're all over the place. Insurance agents all over the place. Mortgage brokers. Only maybe 10% know what they're doing and care about you. And one of the things I was going to say is today everyone wants to commoditize insurance. Oh, I can go to Progressive online, do it myself. Okay, well, you can order stuff from Amazon for yourself too, but that's not life altering. Progressive, back to the 1-800. We call Progressive and Geico 1-800. Who are you? You're talking to someone in San Diego for Geico, a surfer dude. I'm jealous, just let's be honest, but they don't know you or care about you. It doesn't make me a great person or a great agent. My customers are literally in Washington only, and most of them are right here in Edmonds, or I live in Shoreline, where they're around here. So at the end of the day, you don't need to know crap about insurance. You need to know how to call 1-800-PETE, right?
Yeah. And
we need to have real hard discussions on what holes do we want to plug. Matter of fact, you're a perfect example. There's 2 holes we haven't plugged yet that we've been talking about, and we got sidetracked, right? So after this podcast, we'll take care of that. So back to the dovetailing everything. At the end of the day, you don't need to know insurance. Your job is to provide for your family, raise your kids, manage your household. Let me do the heavy lifting. You don't need to know what bodily injury means, or umbrella means, or personal injury protection, or PIP, or uninsured motorist. Do you have all the holes in the boat plugged? And so the best insurance that you can have is, everyone says full coverage. There is no full coverage. There's a lot of stuff that will never be covered, okay? It's a term I learned in the rental car business. I have full coverage. Oh, no, you don't. Nobody has it. So a good auto policy is going to have liability. We all have collision and comprehensive if we have a new car, right? That you have to have it if you have a loan. But if you have enough liability, if you have uninsured motorists, and that goes back to everything we're talking about. 1 in 4 drivers in Washington doesn't have any insurance. Drivers. That doesn't mean cars, right? 1 in 4 don't have the state minimum or too little. So you have a 50% chance you're going to get hit by someone with either no insurance or not much, which means you're going to have to rest on your own insurance, which is the uninsured motorsport. So in my case, my lovely 16-year-old, who I taught everything to, what happens if there's an accident? Well, you probably tell your kids, what happens if there's a fire at home? If you did a real test, do you think they'd do whatever you told them to do or calmly go down the stairs? So my kid got sideswiped the other day, did everything right. Ironically, I was in a hockey game, so I wasn't available the one time that my phone's off. And she did everything right. She pulled over, asked for the driver's license, asked for this, asked for that. Well, the first words out of their mouth is they didn't, speak English. Okay, well, we live in Seattle, and that's pretty common. They had a temporary license plate, which was wet and crinkled up. So my child, who's 17 or almost 17, isn't gonna push it too much with an adult that was a mid-30s. Either way, so you have language as a barrier.
Yeah.
My child went through the checklist, name, phone number, registration, insurance card, driver's license. No, everything was no English, no English, no English. And she did ask for a phone number, and they gave my daughter a phone number. Well, as soon as I got out of hockey, I got the text from my poor child who was traumatized a little bit by it. She didn't get injured, the car's messed up. First thing I did is call the phone number. Guess what? Disconnected. It was a fake number. It was a Louisiana area code. Was that possible? Yes. What should my child maybe have done differently? Tried the phone number while they're there, because if it doesn't ring, but what is she going to do? By the way, on a separate note, don't chase people down. Don't antagonize them. You'd be surprised how many times people get shot or stabbed. Yeah. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, this is going to cost my family $300 under uninsured motorists, which is where the story is going is, unfortunately, even if they didn't lie, they probably didn't have insurance, they probably don't have any assets. I carry uninsured motorist protection. It's $15 a month. How much does that coffee you have? That big, huge coffee. Does it say how much it is?
The second one?
$15, yeah.
I probably spend $12 a day on coffee. Yeah.
So one of those a month you cut out, you can afford uninsured motorists. I'm half kidding, but that's actually how
absolutely.
I sell.
Yeah.
Even an umbrella is 2 of those a month. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you think about it, I pay to have uninsured motorists. So when the other guy doesn't pay the $400 a month I pay for my 2 kids driving, I have to pay more to protect himself against them not having it. That doesn't taste well. The other option is I don't have coverage, right? So I think I got off on the track here. So a good product or good auto policy has a lot of liability. It has personal injury protection, which is medical insurance for car accidents. Mm-hmm. And it could pay out as a bicyclist, as a pedestrian, jogger, and a lot of us around here are those. And when you get hit by a car, your PIP and your car insurance actually pays for that. It's kind of like the obscure golf ball example. So there's a lot more applications for PIP or personal injury protection than I have health insurance.
Right.
Well, I have health insurance. I have an $8,000 deductible.
Right.
Do I want to pay $1,000 for some idiot hitting my kid? She didn't get injured, unfortunately. So anyway, I started to ramble.
No, that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, so I feel like you've covered the auto. Now let me ask you, I'm going to San Diego, gonna rent a car. Do I need, I go back and forth with whether I add the extra insurance.
The full coverage.
The full coverage. And the reason I go back and forth is because when I was in Michigan, I don't know, this was when Chloe's born, so 10 years ago, I hit this huge rock And I just remember being like, I wish I bought the insurance so I didn't even have to think about it. So is that a gimmick?
Well, I'm uniquely qualified to answer that question because I was a high-level manager at Enterprise Rent-A-Car before I got in the insurance industry.
Look at you.
Well, I say that because I was one of the best salesmen at what they call the collision damage waiver.
Okay.
Nowadays, they sell supplemental liability as well. And they also sell like 5 other things if you look at the contract.
Yeah.
But what you're getting at is there are 2 main issues you have renting a car. The easy answer to your question is whatever you have on your car insurance with me, transfer it to the rental car.
Okay.
So if you have an umbrella and you have collision, which most people do, collision covers the cost of the rental car. That's a fixed expense, right? The rental car might be 30 or 40 grand. Your collision is going to transfer to it just like it's your own car. So that's easy.
Okay.
Right? The supplemental liability is the thing that most people don't think about. Well, you don't need that because you have a large umbrella policy that also transfers.
Okay.
So the simplest answer is whatever you've got on your car transfers to the temporary replacement, which is a rental car.
Got
Okay?
it.
Now, unless you don't own a car or you don't have a newer car that would make you have collision on it, you don't need to buy their stuff.
Great.
Having said that, they sell a damage waiver. It's not insurance. So now I'm putting the rental car sales guy hat on, because it's true. It literally just happened yesterday. I had a customer get a bill for $3,000. It was for loss of use and administrative fees. Allstate paid the $10,000 to fix the Alamo rental car, but Alamo reserves the right, as does any rental car company, to charge for what they call downtime or loss of use. Do you know what that means?
No. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
I get it.
You pulled it off when you said, oh.
I mean, I get it.
What it means is they can't rent that car.
Yeah, they can't make money off it.
And businesses have a right to charge for that. Now, most of the time they don't. Matter of fact, when I was at Enterprise, they had a written agreement that they wouldn't charge Allstate customers that, and it was a selling point. But that was a long time ago, and every company, even McDonald's, is charging for extra ketchup, right? I mean, it's just the way of the world. So there is value in having the collision damage waiver, but like any insurance, how many times do you rent a car? How many days are you going to have it for? How much does it cost? What's the likelihood of it happening?
So what's that called? What's the one?
So the collision damage waiver literally says if you buy it, and then let's be honest, when I sold it was $8 a day. You'd have a car for a week, it was $56. I do that all day long.
Yeah.
Now I haven't bought it in a long time. It's $25 a day.
Do you buy it now?
I don't.
Okay.
Now I don't buy it because A, I have very good insurance.
Yeah.
I have accident forgiveness. Some companies offer it, sometimes you have to earn it. So in my case, and again, everyone's different, I would have no deductible because I have deductible rewards. Well, I have to use some of them for my uninsured motorist claim, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I'd only be out like maybe a $500 deductible.
Okay.
But this person they're literally going to get sent to collections if they don't pay it. They kept thinking Allstate was going to pay it. I'm like, it's not an Allstate thing. We don't owe for anything more than the damages to the car.
I see.
And it's the law, and whether or not they want it. So a lot of times a rental car company won't charge it if the insurance company doesn't pay it.
Yeah.
You know how like when you go to the doctor, they charge $6,000 for something, the insurance company pays $3,000 and they write it off?
Yeah.
Well, these guys aren't writing it off, and they have a right to do it. Okay. I'm actually trying to intercede on their behalf, but at the end of the day, they don't care about Pete.
Yeah.
So damage waiver does have value, but it's risk versus return. I'll give you an example. The one time I've had an accident with a rental car, it's kind of similar to you. Even though I'm from New England and supposedly you can drive well in the snow, I had rented a van with my future in-laws, and we were in Idaho Falls, and I was going down a ramp, and it wasn't, my car, I wasn't used to it, I didn't have vans. And sure enough, as soon as I hit the brakes going down, I wasn't even going very fast, it was sheer ice. I don't care who you are, but I ended up going a little bit into the intersection and someone drilled me. Now, I say they drilled me. I ran the stop sign. Yes, it was slow motion, but at the end of the day, I was where I shouldn't be and they hit me. The irony is I did have the rental car coverage for that one, and that was a long time ago and it was less expensive. and I literally handed them the keys and said, "Your problem." And actually, there are times when your credit card company might cover that too, which is another angle we're going up. So,
Cool.
I mean, I could have a whole podcast on rental cars, but so most people don't buy it. But if you're doing that, you know, like Hawaii is easy to drive in California, you know.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna go somewhere, especially if you're not used to snow and ice, every time you rent a car is a different decision.
Yeah. But accidents happen everywhere, so it is a good thing to consider.
Yeah, I mean, in your example, let's say you had $1,000 deductible and no deductible awards, and you had, you still had accident forgiveness. You're still just going to pay your deductible. But it's the loss of income and the administrative fee. But administrative fees are usually like $500. It's really more the taste in your mouth. Like, damn it, my insurance isn't paying for it. In this case, they actually hit a deer, so I kind of feel bad for them because it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
Because if another person hit them, their insurance would be paying for all of this. It wouldn't be their problem. So it's not Allstate's fault. Like, there's no fingers to be pointed.
Right.
But she is going to try the credit card angle. But to be honest with you, she said this morning, she goes, "I just want this over with." I'm like, well, it's $2,000. You make one phone call. So anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see how that
No, that's
goes.
awesome. I mean, and
Podcast number 2 will update.
Yeah, update that.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that though, and again, like I just can't reiterate enough, like how it's so nice for you to be like that you're actually involved in your clients, right? That's just not a thing anywhere else. So I think that's the value of having someone on. And I'll be so honest, like I didn't want to bring you on because like I typically have, like if I'm gonna have a guest, I have like a female guest, but in the new era of the podcast since we've relaunched it, I've really only brought in my people. A lot of the episodes are just me talking, but a lot of the episodes are the people that support my life and my journey. And so as much as I like, a lot of times will support, you know, female-owned businesses and bring on a lot of women, I was like, I can't bring on anyone else to talk insurance because I know, like, and trust you. I buy from you. You have my best interest. You have my family's best interest.
Right.
You have my kids' best interest. I want Dylan's life insurance policy with you so I can make sure that, like, we are supported, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what happens when you retire. That's definitely crossed my mind.
You have my cell phone. I am a little bit older than you, though, but ideally Dylan makes it beyond me.
But, like, not just that, right? Like, it's just having that, knowing that comfort of just having you in the back pocket. And I think that's just different than going to Geico and buying your insurance online, or even just getting the insurance from a different Allstate agent. However, we got hooked up with that originally, you know?
Yeah, that
and
was a
so,
coincidence.
Right. So I just think that is that's just really important to consider, and I hope that you'll consider reaching out to the Bouchard agency. His office is located in Lynnwood, but you do a lot online. People don't actually have to come in and see you. But just a really great relationship, and I'm super grateful for everything that you've done for us. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate having me on.
Yeah. Any other things I should ask you, or you want to leave the listener with?
You know, at the end of the day, we choose who we're making life decisions with, you know, and obviously Allison's a part of your life or you wouldn't be listening to this. And, you know, she's done a pretty good job selling why having an agent in your corner is important. At the end of the day, you have to like who you're working with and trust them. And I'm not for everyone, and I sell Allstate insurance, but most people don't care what company it is, they're buying from me.
Yeah.
And you know, to be honest with you, most of my customers are very tech savvy and want to do everything online, and it kind of goes against me. You don't pay me per hour. Like a therapist, which by the way, I am a lot of the day. I'm a lawyer, doctor, therapist, social worker, divorce counselor, marriage counselor. I guess those are the same thing. But I don't charge by the hour. So anyway, if you want to reach out to me, Allison's going to probably provide you with my phone number and stuff.
Yeah, we'll put your details in the show link.
I'd like to help anybody that wants help and appreciates a personal relationship.
So say your phone number right now and say your website.
Okay. So its phone number is 425-670-0766. It's the Bouchard agency, or Pete Bouchard. It's Bouchard. And my email address is my name, Pete Bouchard at allstate.com. So feel free to reach out, even if you just have some questions and you want them answered. I don't charge for the first hour.
Free consults.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.